Second gen headlights and upgrading to LEDs. Are you thinking about it? Is it something you've considered? Well, today we're going to be talking about a brand that I've invested into and talk about everything that's involved to get it working. Let's get to it. What's going on, guys? Matt over here, Lethal Garage, and we're back here in the Lethal Garage. And as you guys know, we got the 71 full rebuild happening. If you guys aren't aware, first time to the channel, full ground up restoration. Car was completely stripped, had nothing. Now I'm going back through finding all the great stuff that the car didn't have. And one of the things I wanted to do in modernizing and creating my resto mod, our pro touring mod, is bringing LEDs. And yes, I know not everyone's a big fan of LED lights on a classic car. I really like the look and the feel that they bring. I'm wishy-washy on the halos. I got lights with halos. We'll talk about that in a minute. There's a lot of different things that you could do with the setups and really change the look of the front of your car. And today I just want to go over all the different things that you need to take in mind when swapping to LED versus just running your standard incandescent or whatever the heck kind of bulbs those are and making the conversion. So let's get to it. Okay, so we got my head cam on, so I have full mobility, but the components of your front headlight are pretty straightforward. Whether you have an LED or not, there is a main support piece that connects to your core support. You have your main bucket that the light is going to sit in, and this basically which way are we at? So we're right here. So this is going to sit on here roughly like that. And then you're going to have or I shouldn't call this the bezel, but it's a ring that's going to lock in and hold the light in place. Now, in this instance, I'm going with an LED from Anvil Auto. I don't know if their box has their logos. Yes, it does. It is the 7-inch with the halo. Comes with all the wiring and the proper adapters to convert it right over, make it plug and play. But the halo setup is what I went with. Now, some people hate the halos, some people love the halos. I don't know if I'm gonna love or hate it. We'll find out real quick as I drive the car, get the car assembled and installed. And it may be an expensive route to go to buy one with it, and if I don't like it, have to buy another set, but I'm willing to take that risk. So this light setup is, they have quite a few different ones. They have a very stripped down one that will sit right into the factory parts and pieces and just bolt right up and replace, and you're good to go. This one has a lot of functionality built into it. You can turn the halo into a blinker and it will turn amber. There's your high beam, low beams, all that stuff. So there's quite a bit here, a lot of connections to be made. But that all being stated, as far as assembly and getting your whole front bucket set up, if you want to run an LED, there is some modifications to do it if you're going to go with a hardcore LED with this, because the heat spreader is sticking back so far. So again, they do make a generic one that will just go right in. It's the same shape as the factory light if you just want a very simple LED setup. But going with the Mac Daddy one, you do have to mess with the bucket. So in this instance, they do have instructions that they provide with the actual kit. I wish their diagram was a little bit more legible. So you'll see right here, it's highlighting, there's like a white line around it with arrows showing where the cut line is. I found it's just below this bend. So cutting right below this bend will allow you to get the light in there and get the clearance. So as you can see, this is not gonna sit in there right because these huge fins are in the way, and that's why it needs to be trimmed. So I have already gone forward and trimmed it up and set up this setup right here. So this is actually a fully assembled, this is my passenger side. So you can see the light is bolted in, got the spring in place, the two adjusters in place, and you can see, well, not really, but you can see the piece that I trimmed down to get the clearance. Overall, it's a pretty straightforward install. And then obviously the ring's already on there. And then once it's on the car and bolted in, you have the cover. And I did go with the Anvil Auto carbon fiber bezels, mainly because I have carbon fiber on the car and I thought it would look really nice. So yeah, showing how that all works. If you guys aren't aware how the assembly goes together in regards to putting together a headlight. So this one is going to sit like this. You're going to have the two adjuster knobs that have to go in. The plastic clips just snap right on in. It's really straightforward. The spring is probably the most annoying part to get in there. Some people just slide these in straight on. I've seen people even slide them in and then spin them around. Like, I don't know why they do that. I don't know if there's, there we go. So the tension that's going to happen keeps that from pulling out. So we can get the bucket here. Actually, we need to get these started. So I'm doing a very generic assembly of this. I should probably just get a power drill. Let's get a power drill for the win. If you get a long enough extension, you can use a power drill on the car as well, but you'll have to figure out your depth that you want everything. I didn't have my factory set up, so I have no idea the depth that they're gonna need to be sitting at. So that slides into there, that goes right there. So that's literally how that goes together. And then the light goes in there, and then you have a lock ring that goes right on top that holds the light to the whole setup, which we have right here. So you can see the ring bolted through, everything's good. Pretty straightforward. It's really generic. I'm like sitting there, I'm like, that's all that holds that in. And I think it's like the 60s all the way through the 80s, they utilized a setup like this and they work. So it is what it is. But all that being stated, as far as the LED goes, again, this setup does bolt right on in. In this instance, again, there's a few options that you can do if you want to tie in the blinker to the halo. I don't think I'm going to be doing that. The one thing that I do want to do, and I also got their LED setup for my RS front end. So this setup is, I put this together so you can kind of see how it looks. They do also offer a LED setup for the blinkers, and it's a very straightforward install. I really like how Anvil did this because they offer all of the parts and pieces to make it really clean and easy and super straightforward. So this is their bezel, sits right on in the vehicle. This bolts to the tabs on the back side, and then you got 4 screws that lock it all in position. I have this just loosely together. It's not all the way tight yet, but their wiring, they give you good wiring, good distance, so you can tap it right on into your factory setups, and it's straightforward and easy. And Anvil has quite a few different options on their site, but they look really good. And here, we'll go over to the car, and I'll show you what this, I have one of these already mounted, so I'll show you how it looks. So as far on the vehicle itself, you can see, and again, I have the plastic still on the light because I don't want them to get scratched up, but you can see how clean that looks in there. It's just nice and buttoned up. I still got to get the main brackets, obviously, for the headlights mounted and everything, but I wanted to get it rough assembled and make sure everything was good before we got to that point. So some may be asking, why Anvil Auto over some of the other companies like Amazon? Or there's quite a few companies that do make LED headlights for our cars. You just need to know the size and plug right in. Now, the nice thing that Anvil Auto has done, and the reason why I went with them, one, small business, like to support the aftermarket car community versus some random just plain old Chinese company. But the other side is all the work they've put into parts and pieces that they make for their kit. So in this instance, the ring. So this ring is available in black or chrome, and it's a much tighter fit than any of the aftermarket. So your light sits in there nice and good, and you have no issue, especially with the inner lights, which I'm going to attempt to make these DRLs and blinkers. It's going to take some finessing to do. It's not a functionality that these do automatically, but I'm going to work with Offer over at Gen 5 DIY to see if we can maybe create a relay or something like that that can make that functionality work. But again, the setup and all the clamps and parts and pieces to mount this versus the other ones on the market is just far superior. Matt did his work. Matt's the owner over at Anvil Auto. He's done a lot of work, put a lot of time into these, and has made it pretty straightforward. Now, the one thing I will have to say is there's some modifications to the factory tabs with his aftermarket tabs. So I did have to trim some of the tab material on the inside and re-drill the holes to allow the back of the heat sinks of the LEDs to clear. So there is some modifications you have to do to the factory tabs, but when you go aftermarket LEDs, stuff like that, it's something you end up having to do. I've seen a lot of guys, they get them, they have no idea how they're gonna mount them, they drill bolts right into the heat sinks and stuff like that, and that's so hokey. This is a nice setup from Anvil Auto that just works, and it's really straightforward. So we'll see how it lasts long term, obviously, but I think the quality of the lights that Matt went with and the way that he's presenting them, especially even the blinkers, and I really like what they've done with the bezels. Carbon fiber. So this is pure carbon fiber. Really nice. Kind of expensive, but it's nice. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Headlights. Did you guys go LED headlights? Are you running stock lights? Did you run halos? Did you not run halos? Comment below. Let me know what you guys went with. Even put links to other products. I'm going to put links down to the Anvil Auto products. I love them. They're based here in California, so it's really easy for me to drive down and pick stuff up. But obviously, not everyone has that luxury. I think these are pretty competitive in pricing. They might be a little more expensive, but honestly, with the things that you get with the mounting and the brackets and all that stuff and the availability that Matt has put together at Anvil Auto, I think it's worth it to support Anvil Auto in this case. So either or, thanks for checking out the content. I'll be looking forward to getting these installed, showing you how they look on the car, turned on and all that stuff, and all the functionality that we tie into them. Maybe even be able to show you how we did things that aren't necessarily like factory. Like if we do convert these into DRLs, I'd really like to do that. But yeah, we'll see. So either or, thanks for checking out the video. Until next time, guys, see you on the road.